that means you're probably not capable. You might be willing to be a friend to somebody, but you're not capable of waging war for them because you're too vulnerable. Sometimes you have to have friends by you who are so strong that they're not vulnerable, that they're not, susceptible to the mob. And so if you want to be a friend, that means that you have to kind of commit yourself in your life to becoming strong enough in a way that you're not vulnerable to the mob, that you are strong enough to stand by them. And and again, it's not just a willingness to. If you're about to get jumped by 5 people and your one friend comes over, he's like, I'm with you. I was like, okay, so you can fight? I've never even seen a fight before. How do I do this? Well, that guy's gonna get his ass kicked and now he's a liability. It's like, it's great that you're here, man, but now I have to protect you and fight 5 people. It's not gonna happen. That person actually gets in the way. So at the very least, you want to be someone who doesn't get in the way when your friends are in trouble. You don't create more liability. And so that takes a lot of self-perfection. It's not just being able to fight physically, of course that's part of it, but it's also being able to fight mentally, psychologically, to amass resources so that you're able to withstand and absorb fights. There are people I know who are like this, but as soon as something, touches off with one of their friends, they're immediately involved in it. And not necessarily like in a terrible way, not just like making everything worse, because there are, of course, people, you can have those friends who, as soon as a little thing happens, they get involved and they make everything worse by making it way bigger than it has to be. But then, of course, there are those people who are your friends that you'll say, hey, this happened to me, this one person did this, and they'll be like, yeah, but I don't want to get involved. Because, everybody's got their own perspective. If you got, like, for example, if you're a person and you have 2 mutual friends and they're arguing and they're fighting, if I were to ask you, whose side do you take? It's important, I think, to ask yourself, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Is the first thing that comes into your mind whoever's right? Or is the first thing that comes into your mind some way of trying to, stop the argument from happening? Or some way to extricate yourself from the situation so that you don't get involved. Because if you're not going to step in for what's right and try to battle against what's wrong, then you don't really stand for anything. You don't really have any principles. If it's 2 friends, obviously, it's a difficult situation, but haven't you ever had those situations where one friend is just so entirely and completely wrong? When there's an argument between 2 friends it's just obvious who's right and who's wrong. Can you not say to the person who's wrong, hey, you're wrong? And I let it sit there for a second because it is a difficult thing to do. Why? Because we're afraid that we're going to lose friends. But then again, do you really are they really friends like that? It's just like if you have a situation, a terrible situation, and you have a friend who doesn't join in, who doesn't get involved, doesn't have your back. Isn't that when you find out who your true friends are? Which is the irony of the situation. You find out who your true friends are at the worst possible moments. Like when you need them the most, and all of a sudden you turn around and there's no one behind you, that's when you finally all of a sudden realize, wow, I'm alone. Wouldn't it have been better before you went into that situation to have known that you were alone? And so there'll be little things perhaps along the way that will give you a heads up. Like for example, this is a long time ago. This is probably my 3rd year as a teacher, I think. This is my 16th year, so about 13 years ago. I used to be in room 707 across the way over there. It was during an intercession or something like that. So only half of the campus was operating. We had a lockdown, and we didn't have a lot of communication. And so no one really knew what was going on. So we locked down the classrooms and we were just waiting. And the hallways were just empty. They weren't giving us many updates. All we knew was that there had to have been some kind of a situation. And it went on for a long time. So I'm standing by the door. The windows are all really darkly tinted over there, but I'm standing by the door in case something happens. And I have these 4 students who walk up to me. And they were students of mine during the regular session also, so I knew them. They come up and they go, all right, Scanlon, if something goes down, we got your back. And I said, uh-huh. And I said, the best thing for you to do is to stay out of the way. Why? Do they have my back? I don't know. Do I want to find out when you're locked in mortal combat with somebody that's when your friends, that's when your people don't have your back? Or would it be better to go in there assuming no one has your back? Because, I mean, maybe if my car broke down and they helped me change a tire, I'd say, oh, wow, you helped me out a little bit there. And I helped you out a little bit over there. And then you can kind of build that relationship where now you realize you can depend on these people. But that's a life and death situation. That's not when you want to find out who you can depend on and who you can't. You want to have some level of confidence before that happens. So I told them that, and they said, oh, no, seriously, we got your back. And I said, guys, just stay out of the way. And I go, no. I know people say it, we mean it. I'm like, okay, whatever. So the thing went on for a while. And then at one point, there was a guy, he used to work here. He used to coach baseball with me. His name was Jesus Moreno. He's this kind of big guy. He got to school late that day, so he had no idea there was a lockdown. So he was like walking through campus. He walked like this. He was kind of like walking across the way towards, like to walk past my classroom. And we're all kind of hunkered down. He's the only guy in the hallway. And those 4 students, one of them goes, is that him? Is that the shooter? I said, it might be. I knew it wasn't because he's a friend of mine. So they go, all right, here's what we do. They all stacked up on the door and they had this plan. Now, the first guy was going to bum rush him and just try to tackle him. And they were just going to try to control the limbs. And they're all, we're going to grab his arms, legs, and then Scanlon, you just start beating him, okay, until he's unconscious. And these guys were serious. I'm like, let's do this. So we all stack up at the door, and as he gets closer to the door, these guys are just geared and ready to go. I turn the door, and I hear one of them say, it's go time. And I go, oh, no, never mind. That's Moreno. And I open up and I go, he works here. I open the door, I go, hey. And as I said, he works here. I went to open the door. I heard one of them say, that doesn't mean he's not trying to kill us. And I told him, I said, there's a lockdown. So he came into my room, and he had no idea there's a lockdown. I learned something about those guys at that point. If that kind of a thing went down in the future, could I depend on them? Probably, because they showed in that very specific circumstance. But of course, there will be people who will say, I've got your back. There will be people in your life who will say, if you ever need a place to stay, all my friends eat. But when you go to McDonald's with them, they can't throw you $1. They can't throw you a cheeseburger. Because it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to be able to be willing to do it. But there's a second part in there, which is being able to be capable of it. Yeah. Are you willing to stab your friends in the front? Where do your enemies stab you? In the back. Where do your friends stab you? In the front. Follow? No. Why would your friend stab you? It's metaphorical. Your friend will tell you the truth. Do you want people around you who tell you the truth? Or do you want people around you who support you no matter what? You can have both. I was talking with a friend of mine recently, about a year ago, I guess, and we were just, long story, but it was almost a fight somewhere. And we were discussing it, and he just kind of said, I've got your back, even if I think you're wrong. He was saying, if I think you're wrong, I'll tell you afterwards. And at the moment is not the time to tell you, but later on afterwards is a better time to tell you. So I guess that question is, do you want people who will tell you the truth, or do you want people who will just support you, back you up no matter what? Or do you want people who will tell you the truth and back you up and support you? I'm thinking of, I think you heard this yesterday. I have a friend of mine. I don't know if he's a friend anymore. I don't know if he's a friend or a former friend. I don't know yet. But we were really close. I mean, I spent Thanksgiving with him and his family. Not this past one, but the one before. He's married, he has a baby. We talked about him, we're just very close. He's told me, you're more of a brother to me than anybody in my family. We're this close. He has a difficult past. His father was a pastor, and he cheated on his wife and left the family. So my friend grew up with a father. Well, grew up without his father, I guess. After I think he was 10 years old or so, something like that, when all this stuff happened. And so he ended up leaving, And he, of course, developed a real disdain for the church because of stuff like this. But my friend, nice guy, mild-mannered, really, really angry in his past, but working to overcome that. Got married, had a baby, everything is great. Until what? Take a guess. What did he do? Cheated and left his family. Yeah. I haven't talked to him since that happened. Just a few messages back and forth, New Year's message, Christmas message, stuff like that. We've never talked about what's happened. I know his wife as well. So he essentially repeated the sins of the father. The same thing that he was angry about growing up. My dad did this and my dad did that. He turns around and does the exact same thing. Bless you. Now, do I still love him? Yeah, of course. If he were to talk to me about it, what would I tell him? I would tell him what you're doing is wrong. By the way, he left her for someone he's known for 3 weeks, by the way. Now, that's terrible. I was talking to a friend recently and about him. I said, yeah, a friend of mine asked me, have you talked to so-and-so? I said, no, I haven't talked to him, man. His phone doesn't work anymore because it was set up by his wife, so of course she canceled it. And all of his social media stuff is deactivated. And my friend said, no, his Instagram works. I go, really? I just checked like a week or so ago and it was deactivated still. And he goes, no, and he opens it up and he goes, no, he just posted like a couple of days ago. And so he brought up the guy's account and sure enough, it's not deactivated. So what's happened? I'm blocked. And I was like, why am I blocked? Like, we've been close for how long? And then it turned out he blocked several of us. But for some reason, this one guy who he wasn't particularly close with, he barely talked to, that guy's not blocked. And so I tried to do the follow thing, but no. Because I had messages from him, so I could click on the profile, but it didn't show friends or mutual friends, which means I'm blocked. And so this mutual friend of mine, of ours, I saw him on Wednesday, day before yesterday. And he goes, bro, did you see what so-and-so posted? I said, no, I'm blocked. Rhetorical question. And he shows it to me. I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it. But essentially, and you can tell me what's happening in this person's life. It's a picture of like an altar with sacrificed animals and blood. And there's a big severed goat's head on the wall. Just from those few details, what do you suppose this person is getting himself into? Yeah. And what kind of a cult? You got severed goat's head, narrows it down quite a bit. And he's got these 2 pictures of them on there. And I'm just like, okay. You can see there's something really, really dark happening here. So he bails on his family. He blocks off all of his friends. And he starts worshiping Satan. That's an interesting month, isn't it? That's a hell of a month. It's a typical month, but for some people, but it's a hell of a month. If this person reached out to me, what would I tell them? Would I tell them, you know what? Just do what makes you happy. Would I be a true friend and just say, do what makes you happy and give him a big hug and all that? No, of course not. Would I turn my back on him? No, of course not. No, of course not. I have friends. I have former students who have murdered people, and I've shown up in court for them. That's hard to do, because and I'm talking like murder, not just like it was a disagreement that went bad. I'm talking straight out murder. And you show up, and who's in court? The victim's family, everybody who just wants this other person is dead because they've ruined lives. And you show up not because you support that they took someone's life, but because, like, that person, like all of us, they're going to need someone on their side. Some point in your life, you're going to have someone on you're going to need someone on your side. And when it's you against the state, when it's you against the DA's office, when it's you against all of that family, when it's you against 8 billion people in the world, and all of your friends have just kind of turned their backs on you, and your family's there, but like in spirit, they're not there in the courtroom with you. They're kind of, and then you're standing there and you're the only person in their life. It can feel like now you've got an army behind you. It doesn't make everything right, but just a little bit of support. It doesn't support the fact that you murdered someone. It's terrible. You shouldn't have done it. And that will be the distinction. It isn't like your loved one deserved to die. It's just, My loved one is hurting. And so you're there for them. And what are you going to hear for that? Does the family stand there and go, that's great that you support them. It's great that you appreciate it. No. You hear about it. You're a piece of shit. Yeah, I guess I'm a piece of shit supporting my friend. You're a horrible human being. You're this, you're that. I get it. You're hurt. But, everybody needs someone on their side at some point. And could it be you sometime? I don't know. I have one friend who went to a 4th of July party and left there as a murderer. Had no intention of doing it. By the way, that murder, I kind of support it. I got it coming. I got it coming. Did I tell you that one? You can go look this up on the Union Tribune. There's a story about this one. It was on if you just type in Barrio Logan murder 4th of July, you'll find it, man. So I guess the question now is, do I stand by him as wrong as he was? Can I stand by him even though he's wrong? Can you stand by your friend when the whole world's coming against you? Can you put your fists up, look at your friend and go, you're wrong, but let's do this? Or are you the person who's like, I will never stand by you? Name the cardinal sin that they've committed. I will not stand by you for this cardinal sin. I walk away from them. Or do you wait until, or do you try to not get involved in situations like that? Because in order to be a friend, he said, you have to be willing to wage war for them. You have to be willing to. But there's a second part too as well. You have to be capable of it as well. Why is it that I can stand by this person? I stood by a friend one time, and the whole family was like taking pictures of me. And we're going to find out where you work. And I said, Sweetwater High School, National City. We're going to get you. We're going to find out. We're going to get you fired. Okay, good luck. You're not the first. No way. And they were not the last. Am I capable of standing by that person? Some people you're not capable. You're working at Walmart and they flood the district office with pictures of you and say this person's a murderer, and they make up a bunch of stuff about you, which is what happened. They lie about you. They make up stuff about you to try to get you fired. And your job might say, we know you didn't do this, but you know what? It's just, we don't want to get all that negative publicity, so we're going to have to let you go, which happens a lot, man. That means you're probably not capable. You might be willing to be a friend to somebody, but you're not capable of waging war for them because you're too vulnerable. Sometimes you have to have friends by you who are so strong that they're not vulnerable, that they're not, susceptible to the mob. And so if you want to be a friend, that means that you have to kind of commit yourself in your life to becoming strong enough in a way that you're not vulnerable to the mob, that you are strong enough to stand by them. And and again, it's not just a willingness to, because if you're, if you're about to get jumped by 5 people and your one friend comes over, he's like, I'm with you. I was like, okay, so you can fight? I've never even seen a fight before. How do I do this? Well, that guy's gonna get his ass kicked, and now he's a liability. It's not. It's like, it's great that you're here, man, but now I have to protect you and fight 5 people. It's not gonna happen. That person actually gets in the way. So at the very least, you want to be someone who doesn't get in the way when your friends are in trouble. You don't create more liability. And so that takes a lot of self-perfection. It's not just being able to fight physically, of course, that's part of it, but it's also being able to fight mentally, psychologically, to amass resources so that you're able to withstand and absorb fights. And so it's a lot of work to be a friend. And so that's why your friend group should probably be pretty limited. Your real friend group should be pretty limited. Because when you take on friends, you take on responsibilities. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? So what we learned about today, for parents to ask you, what did you learn in school today? Satanism, murder, and doxing. Yeah, some of our favorite things.